towards the end of the season. Got some predictions. Got Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League, top 4. Liam, I think it's quite an obvious one to start with, but who do you think is going to win the Premier League?
Yeah, I think it's impossible to not say Liverpool, because if you don't say Liverpool, your brain's probably not there. That being said, I do think it might get a little bit interesting towards the end of the season. I think I could definitely see Liverpool dropping points, and I could definitely see Arsenal possibly pushing towards the title. But yeah, I mean, when you look at Liverpool and what they've been able to do this year, and especially their dominance in the Champions League, kind of just shows the pedigree of club they are compared to kind of the other clubs, and especially on a form basis as well. It's just impossible to not say Liverpool. That being said, who have you gone for to win the Premier League, Zach?
Nottingham Forest. No.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I have gone Liverpool. I think, interestingly, if a team is going to push Liverpool, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Forest, because also Arsenal, they don't have Saka. They probably won't have him until kind of right at the end of the season, when it probably won't matter. So he might be out for the rest of the season because there's no point rushing him back. Havertz has just got himself a 2-month injury. Trossard is Trossard. Like their attack isn't kind of that amazing anymore. Kind of they've lost their main cohorts. And then like when you're such a defensively solid team and you've got no outlet to score, I think they will fall. I don't even think there's a title race, but I think they will fall out of the title race quite soon. And I think Forest will continue to push. And then I kind of think, like, that's what you've got for a title race. And I just don't think there's even that. I think Liverpool walk it from here.
Yeah, we could see it end quite early, as you say. Interesting, though, that you mentioned that you think Forest could be the ones to push Liverpool, because next our predictions are top 4. I don't think Forest will get Champions League football.
Wow.
I think that they've been on an amazing run. They're obviously in 3rd place now. It's going really well. That being said, I just think like towards the end of the season, I just can't see Man City not picking up some form.
Yeah.
And they've been dropping points. They lost so many games, obviously, during the bad patch towards November, December, and they've been slowly kind of building back up to some good form now. And I think that's only going to carry on going. I think my top 4 will obviously be Liverpool to win the league, Arsenal 2nd. I've gone Man City 3rd, Chelsea 4th. I think that it's not that controversial really when you think about it, but I just can't see Forest keeping it up and maintaining. I don't want to say that they're going to bottle it, because that sounds really harsh, but I think you kind of saw with Leicester in the seasons that they were able to push for Champions League football, infamously in that one season, spent the most time in the top 4 out of any club, including the eventual winners of the Premier League, yet didn't get Champions League football. I think that's kind of going to be a similar story with Nottingham Forest.
I see where you're coming from, but I disagree. I genuinely think if City are going to push a team out the top 4, I think it's probably Chelsea. I think it wouldn't surprise me if the top 4 went. I know I've just said I think Forest will push the most, but so I think obviously Liverpool first. I then think Forest and Arsenal are interchangeable, and then I think City do pull it together, and I think Chelsea kind of not fade away, but I think Chelsea are in a rut at the moment, and I don't really see them getting out of that rut anytime soon. They obviously will, but I just don't think it's going to pick up that quickly. I think you've always got the likes of Newcastle picking up again, and so I think top 4 will go Liverpool, Forest, Arsenal, City.
Ooh, okay.
Saying that, what I've just said about Arsenal's attack, you could see they have a disastrous fall off, and the wheels completely fall off, because also kind of at the end of the season it's not really that relevant to their on pitch form, but like Edu's leaving, he's going to Forest, so kind of this is the end of kind of football goes in kind of 3-year cycles, I kind of tend to find, and this is the end of kind of Arsenal's good 3-year cycle, and so they could either go out with a bang or go out with a whimper. I think it could, because of injuries, it could go out with a slight whimper.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And just touching back on Nottingham Forest, I hope that they do get Champions League football more than most people, I imagine. But yeah, no, it'd be good to see. Definitely be good to see them in the Champions League. And I think it'd be. I don't want to keep saying it's going to be interesting to see, but I think it genuinely is going to be interesting to see. Not necessarily who wins the Premier League, but I think having the top four race back, I think is actually one of the better things that the Premier League has to offer is that push for Champions League, because if one of the top six clubs don't get it, it actually does mean quite a lot. That being said, if a non-top six club gets it, it is huge, and we kind of saw that with Newcastle being in the Champions League. Okay, they didn't really do a whole lot, but I did tune in to pretty much every game because I wanted to see them playing in probably the best competition that football has to offer. I think it'd be good to see Forest there, especially after that. You imagine that they're going to try and build on the success of this season and sign a couple of players.
But also important to mention, as it stands, I think England are quite comfortably winning the race for the 5th Champions League spot as well, because kind of doing well in Europa, everyone's still in the Champions League. Chelsea obviously walk in the Conference League, and so fifth isn't kind of if a big six team did finish 5th, might not be the end of the world.
Yeah, might help Chelsea out come the end of the season. Eh? Moving towards the lower end of the table, who do you think is going to get relegated?
I think this is quite easy. I think Spurs finish rock bottom. I think it is the 3 up that came down. 3 that came up will go back down again, because there is just such a big quality gap now between the Premier League and the Championship, and kind of I think it wouldn't surprise me next season if the same thing happens again, because which will actually be quite damning of the Premier League, just kind of the amount of money that it almost makes it non-competitive. That kind of I know someone who's a Southampton fan, and it's just like looking forward to winning games again. And it's like you come up to the Premier League and it's amazing, and then you have an awful time because you don't win a single game. And it's kind of the Premier League kind of have themselves this sort of problem that they need to fix, because you can't keep having 3 up, 3 down even. Yeah,
and it's typically going to become the same teams, especially with obviously the parachute payments and all of those things. You're looking at right now, it's looking like Leeds, Burnley and Sheffield United are all going to come back up to the Premier League, but they were the same 3 teams that went down again. So it's a bit depressing, I won't lie. That being said, I can't see many of the Premier League teams who aren't in the relegation zone ever going down, really. Everton have flirted with relegation for the past couple of years, but I never really thought they were going to be in the Championship. Same for Wolves. I think obviously Palace at the start of this season kind of found themselves towards the bottom end of the table, yet now they're seemingly doing completely
quality
fine.
Just prevails.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how the Premier League fix it, but yeah, you're right. There definitely is a problem, because I think out of any prediction you could give, this is the most nailed on one. And Wolves had one of the worst starts, had a really bad start to the season because their fixtures were just unbelievably difficult. I still feel for Gary O'Neill, but yeah, I just as they now don't really look like they're going to go down. And yeah, I don't know whether Van Nistelrooy will stay with Leicester. I'd kind of imagine not. That being said, if he could try and build something and win a bunch of games in the Championship, you saw Maresca get a pretty good move off the back of that as well. So
Ruud van Nistelrooy getting the Leicester job, it kind of wasn't weird, but it was kind of like it didn't necessarily make sense, because it's quite a big risk. Like, kind of, yes, Ruud did well in the Netherlands, and then was the Man United interim, but it's like you don't have Leicester aren't a club that have the kind of the luxury of we can try and start playing this expansive football. It doesn't really matter if we lose a few games doing it, because we'll finish mid-table. It's like you're in a relegation battle, mate. It did feel a bit odd, and it feels like Leicester fans aren't really taking to Ruud either.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not a match made in heaven, really.
Yeah, I think actually, all being said, I think one of the more crazy things that could happen this year if Arsenal were to win the title, yet Ipswich, Leicester, or Southampton were to stay up, I would be more impressed by the fact that one of those clubs has managed to stay up just because of the position they're in and how hard it is just to stay in the Premier League.
Moving on away from the Premier League, FA Cup. We've spoken about how much we like it on the podcast. Who have you got to win it, Liam?
I think it'll be Man City, unfortunately. I don't think Man City are going to win in any other competition. I don't think they're probably not going to win the Premier League, and I don't think they'll win the Champions League either. So I think Pep will be keen to not focus on the FA Cup, but I think he knows that obviously you can still tick over with an FA Cup. It's still
a trophy.
Yeah, it's still a big trophy as well.
Yeah.
You saw it keep Erik ten Hag in a job
for 3 weeks.
just last season. Not that obviously Pep is in threat of getting sacked. Don't get me wrong, but I think that just kind of shows that it still is a big competition and should be respected. But I think a team that might possibly win the FA Cup, if I had to go for an outside, would be Newcastle maybe. I think that with the fact that they've gone so far in the Carabao Cup, if they win that, I think that could, as we mentioned in the previous podcast, that could be a massive springboard. And certainly the fact that they're still towards the top end of the table as well. I think if they could get to a final or at least get to both finals, that would be incredible.
Yeah,
I've gone to win
the annoying thing for kind of the other teams in it, that while City are in their rut, they've got Plymouth. So it's like they're like, yes, Plymouth beat Liverpool, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. So I think it probably will be City. I think if you had it as like if it was like City Newcastle, City Villa in kind of the next round, you go, this could actually be quite interesting because City are in their rut. They're not winning a game anytime soon. But like City will walk all over Plymouth, and so I think if they can get out of their rut, which they eventually will, you'd like to think, well, or you'd not like to think, but so I think it is City, but I think I'd really like to see Bournemouth win it. I think kind of like they are kind of the outside, like the very, very dark horses. Like kind of when you've got City, Newcastle, Villa, like they're kind of your three front runners. But like plucky little Bournemouth,
the black horses of the FA Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Like red and black stripes, basically. Yeah. So yeah, I think it will be City. But if I was to go with my heart, I'd say Bournemouth.
But I think it's been nice to see the FA Cup kind of return to its glory, because I think it's only United and City who are the two like top 6 clubs that are still in the competition at round 5. I mean that's pretty incredible. I think you could see Aston Villa. Unai Emery's an absolute genius when it comes to cup competitions. We've seen that with his proficiency in the Europa League as well. So I think you can't rule out them as well.
Moving on, Champions League. You kind of mentioned you didn't think City were going to win it. Who do you think will win it?
It's a toss-up between Liverpool and Real Madrid for me. I think Real Madrid are just so prolific. Like even in the City game, like they seemingly they're probably the better side. Don't get me wrong, and probably deserve to win the game. But just like they just find a way every year, no matter what happens. I think maybe their front three hasn't been as electric as perhaps it might. People thought it might have been at the start of the season. But I think when you've got Mbappe, Vinicius, and Rodrigo up front, I mean, like, I don't think you're ever going to struggle to find the net. And then behind that, you've got Bellingham. I mean, it's just like it is ridiculous. I can't see. I think the only reason I wouldn't say Liverpool to win it is just because they do have to focus on the league as well, and they do have the Carabao Cup. I mean, not that they'll be thinking about that too much, but I think because they do have to focus on other things, and they might. I don't want to say get tired, but like there's a lot going on for Liverpool. Not that there's not a lot going on for Real Madrid, but I just think that elite level quality going forward compared to Liverpool, who I'd probably say their only world class attacker is Salah, opposed to Real Madrid possibly having 3. I think that could get them over the line. What about you?
I've gone for a Spanish winner, and it was between 2, and the 2 did not include Real Madrid. I think I don't know why. I've just got this feeling. For me, it was between Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, and I don't know why. I don't have a lot of logic to it, But Atletico Madrid are calling to me. They're going, Zach. I was going to do an accent, but I decided not to. Zach, we're going to win the Champions League. And I thought about it. You look at the league table. They're 2 points off top, a point behind Barcelona. Top three is Real Madrid, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, and they're all separated by a point each. And then you look at their record against the teams. Drew with Real Madrid, beat Barcelona. I'm a big fan of Simeone.
Yeah.
And I think his really negative, boring style of football is perfect for knockout competitions. And kind of he's I'm going to contradict myself and say yes, he's never won the Champions League, but I think kind of with the form of Griezmann, the form of Alvarez, I think I don't know why, but I just think I think this could be his year.
I'd love to see. I'd love to see it personally. I'd love to see them finally get the trophy that they deserved. Probably going on a decade ago now. I think it's been impressive just to see Simeone still there and still putting up a good fight in all competitions as well.
Barcelona as well. Kind of their front three is kind of a bit mental at the moment. Kind of Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, Lewandowski. Like you kind of it's not the same kind of name as Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, but it's challenging them and it's putting out similar numbers and kind of I really like that front three, and I think Hansi Flick he's a really good manager, won Champions League already, and so kind of that experience as well could kind of carry them over.
I think I didn't really consider Barcelona, to be fair, but now you've mentioned that, I think that's definitely something that could happen. I think it's quite interesting to see that their front threes are just so much more dangerous than I'd say most front threes that the Premier League or other leagues have to offer. I'm not sure if that's another thing that people are thinking of, but considering that Atletico have then got, as you say, Alvarez and Griezmann, I can't see many teams being able to compete with that.